In the heart of Amaif, a village nestled between rolling hills and a great river, the air was alive with the hum of life. The people of Amaif were known far and wide for their adherence to the ways of their ancestors. Every drumbeat, every step of their dances, and every word spoken by the elders carried the weight of a legacy as old as the baobab trees that stood watch over the village. Tonight, the village square was bathed in the orange glow of flickering torches. The people gathered in anticipation, their faces alight with both wonder and trepidation. At the center of the square stood the Dibia, the village seer, draped in white robes adorned with cowries and feathers. Beside him, on a pedestal of carved wood, burned the ancestral flame, its golden light steady and eternal. The Dibia raised his staff, and the crowd fell silent. His voice rang out, deep and resonant, "The time has come, my children. The ancestors have whispered to me of a trial that will test the very soul of Amaif. The ancestral flame, the heart of our people, will face a great danger. Only one, chosen by the spirits, can save it. But beware, for this journey will demand more than strength. It will demand wisdom, sacrifice, and the courage to see beyond what the eyes can grasp." The villagers exchanged uneasy glances. Among them stood Obina, his tall frame rigid, his eyes fixed on the flame. Though only 25, Obina carried the air of someone far older. His deep knowledge of proverbs, rituals, and customs had earned him respect, but his uncompromising nature often alienated those who questioned tradition. As the Dibia's words hung in the air, the flame flickered unnaturally. And our spirits will wander without rest. The crowd murmured in alarm, but the Dibia raised a hand for silence. His gaze swept across the people until it landed on Obina. A hush fell over the square. "Obina, son of Amaif, the ancestors have chosen you. You are to be the keeper of the flame. Do you accept this sacred duty?" Obina stepped forward, his heart pounding. Though he had always dreamed of serving his people, the weight of the task before him was immense. He knelt before the flame, his voice steady but tinged with awe. "I accept. By the spirits of my forefathers, I will protect the flame with my life." The Dibia placed a hand on Obina's head, chanting a blessing. The villagers erupted into cheers. But beneath their celebration lurked a shadow of fear. For the prophecy had spoken of trials to come, and the air carried the scent of change. The keeper's first test, the village square, once alive with the hum of voices and the rhythm of drums, grew eerily quiet as the last ember of the night's celebration flickered out. Obina sat in his family's compound, staring at the distant hills where the moonlight cast shadows that seemed alive. His mother, Neka, moved silently behind him, preparing a meal of yam and vegetables. She did not speak, but Obina could feel her unease. "You do not approve, mother," Obina said without turning his head. Neka paused, her wooden spoon resting against the edge of the clay pot. "It is not disapproval, my son. It is fear. The spirits have chosen you, but the burden they have placed on your shoulders is great. Even the strongest tree can crack under the weight of too much fruit." Obina turned to face her, his expression resolute. "The ancestors would not choose me if they did not think I could bear it. I have prepared for this my whole life. I will not fail." Neka sighed, brushing her hands against her wrapper. "Even the wisest elder must still listen. Do not close your ears to the voices of others." Obina. Arrogance has felled many great men. Before he could reply, the sound of hurried footsteps broke the stillness. Obina's younger sister, Adiz, burst into the compound, her face alight with urgency. "Brother, the Dibia summons you. He says the flame is in danger." Obina rose at once, his heart quickening. He followed Adiz through the winding paths of the village, where the huts were bathed in silver moonlight. When they arrived at the Dibbia's shrine, the air was thick with the scent of burning herbs and the faint hum of spiritual energy. The Dibbia stood before the flame, his face shadowed by the flickering light. The flame itself, once steady and golden, now wavered and dimmed. Its glow barely illuminating the carved symbols on the walls. "Obina," the Dibbia said, his voice heavy with foreboding. "The flame weakens. Something, a force beyond this realm, seeks to extinguish it. The ancestors have spoken. Your first test is upon you. You must protect the flame through the night. But be warned, you will not be alone." Obina stepped forward, his jaw set. "What must I do, Dibbia?" The old man gestured toward a staff leaning against the wall. It was carved from dark wood, its surface etched with intricate patterns and inlaid with cowries. "Take this. It is the Staff of Ebel, a gift from the ancestors. It will guide you, but only if your heart remains true. Stay by the flame until dawn. Whatever comes, you must not let it go out." Obina nodded, gripping the staff tightly. The wood felt warm in his hand, as though alive. He knelt before the flame, whispering a silent prayer to the ancestors. As the Dibbia and Adiz retreated into the shadows, Obina was left alone with the flickering light. The silence of the shrine was absolute, broken only by the soft crackle of the flame. The first hour passed uneventfully. Obina sat cross-legged before the flame, his eyes unblinking. He recited proverbs in his mind, each one a tether to the wisdom of his forebears. But as the night deepened, a chill crept into the air, a low whisper brushed against his ear. "Keeper. Are you worthy?" Obina's head snapped up. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. He gripped the Staff of Ebel, his pulse quickening. "Show yourself," he said, his voice steady despite the growing unease in his chest. The shadows at the edge of the shrine shifted and coalesced into a figure. It was tall and formless, its body a writhing mass of darkness. Its eyes glowed like embers. Piercing and unrelenting. "You are the keeper," they say, the figure intoned, its voice a haunting melody. "But I see a boy clinging to the crutches of the past. Are you truly fit to guard the flame, or will you let it die as your village fades into irrelevance?" Obina rose to his feet, the staff held firmly in his hand. "I do not fear you, spirit. The ancestors guide me. The flame will not die while I breathe." The figure laughed, a sound like wind through hollow bones. "We shall see." With a flick of its hand, the shadow summoned a gust of wind that held through the shrine. The flame wavered dangerously, shrinking until it was no more than a flicker. Obina planted the staff firmly into the ground, its carvings glowing faintly. "Begone," he commanded, his voice ringing with authority. The shadow recoiled, but it did not disappear. Instead, it multiplied, dozens of smaller shapes spilling from its form and encircling Obina. The air grew heavy, and Obina felt the weight of doubt pressing against his mind. "You are alone, keeper," the shadows whispered. "The ancestors cannot save you. Your faith is your weakness. Abandon it, and you may yet survive." Obina closed his eyes, shutting out the taunting voices. He focused intently on the flame, its faint light a fragile, yet unwavering beacon in the oppressive darkness. His mother's words echoed in his mind, "Even the wisest elder must still listen." "I am not alone," he declared, his voice steady and resolute. "The ancestors are with me, and so is the strength of my people. Together, we will overcome you." The Staff of Ebel pulsed in his hand, a surge of warmth radiating from its carved surface. Its glow grew brighter, intensifying until it filled the shrine with a blinding light. Obina raised the staff high, the brilliance bursting forth in a radiant wave that pierced through the shadows. The figures shrieked, their haunting cries filling the air as they dissolved into nothingness, their formless bodies unraveling like smoke in a gust of wind. When the last shadow vanished, the ancestral flame steadied, its golden light burning brighter than ever before. Obina dropped to his knees, his chest heaving as exhaustion coursed through his body. As the first light of dawn broke over the village, the Dibia entered the shrine, his face a blend of quiet pride and solemnity. "You have passed your first test, Keeper," he said. "But this is only the beginning. The path ahead will demand more than strength of body. It will demand strength of spirit. Are you prepared?" Obina pushed himself to his feet, the staff of Ebel still firm in his grasp. His gaze lifted to the horizon, where the rising sun painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson. "I am ready," he replied, his voice filled with unyielding determination.